The Myanmar civil war intensified after the military coup in 2021, when the armed forces removed the elected government led by Aung San Suu Kyi. Mass protests against military rule were met with violence, leading many resistance groups to take up arms. Ethnic armed organizations and pro-democracy forces have fought the military across different regions of the country. The conflict caused thousands of deaths, widespread displacement, and severe humanitarian problems. Villages, schools, and infrastructure have been destroyed during fighting and airstrikes. International organizations condemned human rights abuses and called for peace, but political instability and violence continue, deeply affecting Myanmar's people, economy, and future development. The conflicts between India and Pakistan began after the partition of British India in 1947, mainly over the disputed region of Kashmir. The two countries have fought several wars, including in 1947, 1965, 1971, and 1999 during the Kargil conflict. These wars caused heavy military and civilian casualties and increased political tensions between the neighboring nations. Both countries possess nuclear weapons, making their rivalry a major international concern. Border clashes and terrorist attacks have continued to strain relations despite peace talks and ceasefires. The conflict has affected economic development, regional stability, and diplomacy in South Asia, while Kashmir remains the central unresolved issue between them. The Sudan Civil War began in 2023 after tensions between the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces erupted into open conflict. Fighting spread across major cities, including Khartoum and Darfur, causing widespread destruction and civilian suffering. Thousands of people were killed, while millions were displaced internally or forced to flee to neighboring countries. Hospitals, schools, and infrastructure were severely damaged, creating shortages of food, water, and medical supplies. International organizations warned of a growing humanitarian disaster and risks of famine. Efforts to negotiate ceasefires faced repeated failures, while political instability and violence continued to threaten Sudan's future and regional stability. The Sahel region conflict affects countries including Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, where armed extremist groups, political instability, and weak government control have created ongoing violence. Militants linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIS have carried out attacks on civilians, security forces, and villages, causing thousands of deaths and displacing millions of people. Military coups in these countries have further complicated efforts to restore stability and democracy. International forces and peacekeeping missions have struggled to contain the violence, while poverty, climate change, and food shortages worsen conditions. The conflict has become one of Africa's most serious humanitarian and security crises, affecting regional development and international relations. Russo-Ukrainian War, 2022, present. The Russo-Ukrainian War escalated dramatically in 2022 when Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The conflict caused widespread destruction, displacement of millions, and heavy military and civilian casualties. Ukraine resisted strongly with support from Western countries providing weapons, aid, and sanctions against Russia. Major battles occurred in cities such as Mariupol, Bakhmut, and Kiev's surrounding regions, sieges, and naval conflicts, alongside periods of temporary truce. In 1648, the conflict ended with the Peace of Westphalia, which officially recognized the independence of the Dutch Republic. The war greatly influenced European politics, trade, and military development, helping the Netherlands become a major economic and maritime power. The Hundred Years' War was a long conflict between England and France fought from 1337 to 1453. It began when King Edward III of England claimed the French crown, challenging French authority. The war included famous battles such as Crécy, Poitiers, and Agincourt, where English longbowmen achieved victories. However, France eventually regained strength under leaders like Joan of Arc, whose inspiration helped unite the French people. The conflict ended with France recovering most of its territory, while England lost nearly all its French possessions. The war changed medieval warfare, strengthened national identities, The Mexican drug war is an ongoing conflict involving the Mexican government, drug cartels, and criminal organizations. It intensified in 2006, when President Felipe Calderón deployed the military to combat cartel violence. Major cartels, including Sinaloa Cartel and Jalisco New Generation Cartel, fight for control of trafficking routes, causing widespread violence, corruption, and human rights concerns. Thousands of civilians, police officers, and journalists have died or disappeared. The conflict has also affected migration, public safety, and the economy. Despite arrests of cartel leaders and international cooperation, organized crime remains powerful, making long-term peace and security difficult to achieve across many Mexican communities. Police and government institutions allowed cartels to grow stronger. Violence intensified after the Mexican government launched a military crackdown in 2006 under President Felipe Calderón. Rival cartels battled each other and security forces for territory, leading to widespread killings, kidnappings, and instability. Today, the conflict remains a major challenge for Mexico's security and society. The Mexican drug war has devastated communities across Mexico for decades. Thousands of people have been killed, injured, or forced to flee their homes because of cartel violence. Criminal groups fight for territory, smuggling routes, and power, often targeting civilians, journalists, police officers, and politicians. Entire towns have lived in fear due to kidnappings, extortion, and shootings. Families are separated, businesses are destroyed, and trust in law enforcement has weakened because of corruption and intimidation. The violence has also affected Mexico's economy and international reputation. Despite government efforts to stop the cartels, the conflict continues to cause suffering, instability, and fear throughout many regions of the country. The conflict is called the Mexican drug war because it involves violent battles between drug cartels, the Mexican government, and rival criminal groups within Mexico. The word, war, is used because the violence resembles armed conflict, with shootings, military operations, assassinations, and territorial fights occurring across the country. Drug cartels compete to control smuggling routes, illegal drug production, and trafficking into the United States. The Mexican military and police have been heavily involved in attempts to stop these organizations, especially since 2006. Although it is not a traditional war between countries, the scale of violence, deaths, and destruction has led many people to describe it as a war.